Sasquatch, Bigfoot, those who know. This is the alternative Bigfoot theories iceberg. Now I assume you know a little bit at least about Bigfoot. You probably know Bigfoot. You probably know the Patterson-Gimlin footage. You maybe know the stabilized Patterson-Gimlin footage. But most of this is pretty mainstream Bigfoot knowledge. There is a lot more to Bigfoot and Bigfoot theories than most people know about. Now the mainstream media conditions you into thinking, oh, Bigfoot, it's just a massive ape in the woods. Bigfoot, that's just something silly.
Do you feel blame? Are you mad? Do you feel like
And I want to break that conditioning. I want you to decompartmentalize, because Bigfoot is not something silly. Bigfoot is something serious. And there's a lot more to Bigfoot and the Bigfoot community than you probably realize. They have some theories that are actually quite nuanced. Like I said, if you're not a Bigfoot enthusiast, you probably just think, oh, Bigfoot, big ape, big feet.
Holy shit, boys, look what I found, 9 milligrams. That's almost as wild as me.
Now, Bigfoot is a topic around which there's actually a very healthy and robust community. And this community actually produces a lot of theories about the existence of Bigfoot with a lot of nuance, with a lot of substance. There's a lot of compelling theories, a lot of compelling stories, a lot of which you've probably never heard. And I was thinking of a way to package this video and present it to you in a way that's compelling, and I couldn't really think of one, but then I watched a Parallel Pipes video. And then I had the genius idea of doing an iceberg chart. So for me, this is sort of what my Bigfoot knowledge tree looks like. Now, I'm sure you know how iceberg charts work, but in case you're uninitiated, it works like this. Imagine I was making a Subnautica iceberg video. If I was doing a Subnautica iceberg chart, it would probably start with an entry like the Aurora, which is just the giant ship that you crash on at the start of the game. Very simple.
Incoming call from Kanye West.
You're not Aurora about to explode and shit, and now she deep throating my balls and dick.
But further down the iceberg, there may be some more obscure entries. For example, in the game's soundtrack, there is a song that contains a soundbite of Donald Trump saying the word China. I don't know if anyone's gonna... Are there any Subnautica enthusiasts out there who are gonna like that? So anyways, it'll begin with some very surface level Bigfoot media, some stuff you've probably seen or know about, and then gradually it'll get more obscure, more strange, more mystic, more paranormal, more esoteric, and it's going to end with some of the most unorthodox Bigfoot theories I've ever heard, and in some cases some of the most compelling Bigfoot footage that I've ever seen. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. To begin with, we have
the Patterson-Gimlin footage.
The good old Patterson-Gimlin footage. I imagine you've been beaten over the head with this already. As the story goes, in 1967, two gentlemen, Roger Patterson and Robert Gimlin, were in the woods in Northern California. On the morning of October 20th, 1967, the pair captured this footage and claimed that it was footage of Bigfoot. And the footage has lived on in infamy ever since. And that's pretty much where the story ends with the Patterson and Gimlin footage. Before we move on to the next entry, there's actually a lot of interesting lore about this video that you probably don't know about. Ever since this footage was released about 60 years ago, there have been countless arguments made attempting to debunk this footage as a hoax, but one of them stands out to me as very interesting. To me, the one that really stands out is the Bob Hieronymus confession. So there is a gentleman by the name of Bob Hieronymus, who by all accounts was friends with Roger Patterson and Robert Gimlin. In recent years, Bob Hieronymus has claimed that Patterson and Gimlin offered to pay him $1,000 to wear a gorilla suit and stride through Bluff Creek, put on a gorilla suit and stride through Bluff Creek, the site where this footage was filmed, and pretend that he was a Sasquatch. Here is a clip from a National Geographic documentary where Bob Hieronymus presents his story.
We're here to meet Bob Hieronymus, who was a young man who used to ride with Patterson and Gimlin. Bob claims that back in '67, he was the guy who strode across Bluff Creek in Patterson's Bigfoot suit.
They said that we'll pay $1,000 and it would take about 10 minutes. So that's 26 years old time I jumped on it, you know. So that's 26 years old time I jumped on it, you know.
Pause. So Bob Hieronymus, which sounds like an epic ancient Greek name, Bob Hieronymus says that he went ahead and filmed the scene with them, but they never paid him. And he says that he was holding out on going public with this story for 37 years because he was hoping that he would eventually get his $1,000 payment.
If they would have paid me the $1,000 like they promised, I would have kept my mouth shut.
Now, that's just his account, but what makes his account so compelling is the way that he walks.
Bob Hieronymus, who says he was Bigfoot. When you see him walk, he's this big old gangly cowboy looking dude. When you see him walk, he walks exactly like that Bigfoot thing.
You think it was him?
100%.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yes, it is like 1-to-1 with the Bigfoot walk footage. Is this a conclusive debunking?
Yeah.
Next, we have
Bluff Creek footprint casts.
The Bluff Creek footprint casts are a series of plaster molds taken from large, human-like footprints found near Bluff Creek, California, which just so happens to be where the 1967 Patterson-Gimlin footage was shot. Shortly after the footage was shot, a researcher by the name of Bob Titmus, who was with Patterson and Gimlin's crew, revisited the site where the video was shot and claimed to have found a bunch of footprints, which he then filled with plaster and made casts of. Now, there aren't any big compelling arguments debunking the authenticity of these casts, but they just sort of look like giant human footprints. So who's really to say if they're real or not? Now, these are some of the only photographs that we have of the casts themselves, and the only really interesting thing to note about these casts is the very pronounced mid-tarsal pressure ridge. So this entry is just sort of an addendum to the Patterson-Gimlin footage. Next up, we have
Cryptozoological Bigfoot model.
Now, this is a term that I created to explain one of the predominant narratives in the Bigfoot community, and that is the narrative that Bigfoot is just a giant ape that we can't find. This is sort of the orthodoxy that has dominated the Bigfoot community for a very long time. And the reason it has dominated for so long is because people think it's a little too crazy or a little too out there to speculate that Bigfoot might not just be a physical ape. People think it is a little too kooky to speculate that Bigfoot may be something that is supernatural or paranormal. Now, I'll grant that it's a little bit out there, but I don't think it's any more out there to speculate that Bigfoot is some kind of ghost or spirit or demon than it is to speculate that there's a giant ape somewhere out in the woods with huge fucking feet and we just have to find him. Like, I don't totally understand why that's an acceptable thing to believe either. That's fucking ridiculous too. Eyes wide, poring over trail cam footage. Yeah, I'm gonna find him. This is a noble pursuit. But if you think Bigfoot is a ghost or something in the woods, you're fucking insane.
刚才说是你们受欧洲国家管理这么长时间，应该是学到了很多先进的管理经验。
哪有多少时间？没有多少时间呢。我们炒那个要那个国境级啊，很炒。现在是50年了，第几50年那个？就是
50年以前，你不是受他们
50年以前什么都好啊。
是啊，那个先进的影响，那个代代往传下来，越传越文明越发达了，把原有留下的东西根本都没有更加的爱护保护去利用它，反而都遭到了毁灭性的重创，成成这样子的话。
So, all in all, the cryptozoological Bigfoot model is just the belief that Bigfoot is a real, biological, undiscovered species of ape that physically exists in the wilderness somewhere but has simply evaded detection. Now, moving on to the second layer of our Bigfoot iceberg, we have
the Ape Canyon incident.
This one is just sort of a straightforward but lesser known Bigfoot encounter story. Now, according to my research, in the summer of 1924, a group of gold prospectors claimed that 7-foot tall ape-like animals attacked them with boulders. According to their tale, they came across the animals in the wilderness, and when one of the group fired a rifle at one of the animals, he struck it 3 times and saw the wounded animal topple off a cliff into an inaccessible canyon. The ape men supposedly returned later to bombard their cabin with large stones and leave giant footprints. The story caused a local sensation, prompting U.S. Forest Service Rangers J.H. Huffman and William Welch to investigate. Huffman and Welch descended into the supposedly, quote, inaccessible canyon, but found nothing. They demonstrated how 14-inch long footprints found near the cabin could easily be faked, and concluded that the miners probably placed large stones near the cabins themselves to bolster the tale. Despite the story being debunked by the Rangers, people still wanted to believe, and the prospector's story was repeated and continued to spread in later years, inspiring new theories and claims of new sightings. Nothing really crazy here, but it's a story that you probably haven't heard. Next up, we have
the Albert Ostman abduction.
This one seems pretty simple, but it's actually pretty great. As the story goes, originally from Sweden, Albert Ostman immigrated to British Columbia, Canada in 1913 to seek his fortune as a gold prospector. A few decades later, in 1957, Ostman stunned the public by claiming he'd been kidnapped by a family of Sasquatch during a prospecting trip in 1924. According to Ostman's story, while on a prospecting trip, he was abducted in the middle of the night by, quote, a family of Sasquatch. They then took him and held him captive in a small shelter that they had made in a nearby cave. According to Ostman, the family included, quote, a young male and a, quote, young female Bigfoot, along with a, quote, old lady and, quote, old man Bigfoot. Ostman claimed that the old man Bigfoot was around 7 feet tall and looked to weigh between 500 and 600 pounds. This particular Sasquatch, according to Ostman, would also block his exit every time he tried to flee from the cave. So then how did Ostman escape? Well, Ostman claimed that after some time of being held captive, he was, quote, taking a bit of snuff. If you don't know what snuff is, here's a little explanation of what it is. It's basically like dried tobacco. It's like Zin. As Ostman was, quote, taking a bit of snuff, he claimed that the old man Sasquatch became intrigued, taking a keen interest in Ostman's powdery smokeless tobacco product. Ostman then indulged the old man Bigfoot's curiosity, handing him the tin of snuff, at which point the old man Bigfoot, quote, opened his mouth and emptied the entire tin in one gulp. This then caused the old man Bigfoot to become very ill, which granted Ostman the opportunity to flee. In essence, the old man Bigfoot got Nick sick from Zin.
Swallow it, by the way.
Yeah, this will probably kill you, right?
Nah.
This won't give me mouth cancer, will it?
Oh.
So yes, all of those AI TikToks about Bigfoot in the woods wanting Zin are true. It's just very, it's very funny to imagine a giant old Bigfoot putting down Zin and just, Moving on, we have this video's sponsor.
Purge Lifting Club.
Purge Lifting Club. Purge Lifting Club is a fitness apparel brand that is owned by me, partially owned by me. I'm co-owners of it with my brother. But we make high quality fitness apparel. Trust. No, but seriously, we make good stuff. In our latest drop, we have When the Lord Talks to Me, I Obey Him hoodies. We have The Father Punishes the Son Cruelly t-shirts. And the stuff is actually pretty cheap. The hoodie I'm showing you is only about 30 bucks. And this is a call to action. If you buy our merch, and if you tweet me a picture of you wearing our merch, I will personally thank you in my next video. I swear. Purge Lifting Club. Drink your own cup.
Welcome to Purge Lifting Club. When the Lord talks to me, I obey him. The Father punishes the Son cruelly. Building mass, burning grass. Nobody is coming to save you. Purge Lifting Club. Drink your own cup.
With the sponsor out of the way, let's get back to the iceberg. Diving into the third layer of our iceberg, we have
The Sierra Sounds Bigfoot Samurai Chatter.
The Sierra Sounds refers to a controversial audio recording which purportedly captures actual Sasquatch vocalizations. The Sierra Sounds tape is sometimes also referred to as the Samurai Sounds because, well,
It sounds like someone pretending to be Japanese that doesn't actually speak Japanese.
So a little bit on the origins of this recording before I show it to you. This recording was captured by a gentleman named Ron Moorhead. Not a joke. Who is Ron Moorhead? Well, according to ronmoorhead.com, author, renowned researcher, and experiencer, Ron Moorhead, producer of the Sierra Sounds, has been known for decades for his worldwide research and his recorded interactions with the Bigfoot Sasquatch phenomenon. To date, he comes closer than any other researcher to having a complete body of evidence. The Sierra Sounds are the only Bigfoot recordings that have been scientifically studied, time-tested, and accredited as genuine. More on some of those scientific claims in a minute. Here are some excerpts from the Sierra Sounds themselves.
Right there, just see movement right through there.
If that's your first time hearing that, probably pretty unusual, probably not what you expected Bigfoot to sound like, probably quite strange, maybe you believe it. But is this a genuine recording? Well, according to Ron Moorhead, this is the only genuine recording of Bigfoot in existence. But on what authority does he make this claim? Well, Ron Moorhead's website, ronmoorhead.com. Sounds like a gay porn website. According to Ron Moorhead's website, quote, "Science has established that these unusual sounds were spontaneous and made at the time of the recordings. And in a more recent study, a complex language was discovered." I hate to be that guy, but Moorhead is not citing any sources here. But let's go ahead and assume that we are the vocal experts, and that we're going to investigate this recording. Can we debunk this as a hoax and say that Moorhead or one of his friends was making the sounds? Well, it may be prudent for us to ask Joe Rogan about it.
Yeah, and these, supposed vocal experts are analyzing it. The human body is incapable of making such sounds.
Did you hear that? Let's take a closer look at that. Moving on, we have
Pennsylvania UFO Bigfoot sightings.
The Pennsylvania UFO Bigfoot sightings refers to a spike in UFO and Bigfoot sightings in Pennsylvania in 1973. At the time, a paranormal researcher and Pennsylvania native named Stan Gordon operated a phone line and ran a paranormal organization that collected and investigated records from fellow Pennsylvania residents. According to Gordon, in 1973, his group experienced an unusual influx of corroborating UFO reports, which were later followed up by corresponding Bigfoot sightings in the same areas. It was a Bigfoot invasion, if you will.
At this very moment, large, well-organized caravans of Bigfoot are marching toward our Pennsylvania border. Some people call it an invasion. It's like an invasion. We have to win in November, or we're not going to have Pennsylvania. They'll change the name. They're going to change the name of Pennsylvania.
One such report came from Greensburg, Pennsylvania, where multiple people reported seeing 8 to 10-fold Bigfoots being beamed out of UFOs, which were hovering in a field.
God damn it, I hate this fucking farm! What the fuck is that?
I'm gonna go smoke these cigarettes by my gym's leaking gas regulator.
Motherfucker, no! You're not supposed to do that!
Another report came from Beaver County, and I'm just gonna read this one straight from the article here because this one's very strange. In the borough of Beaver, in Beaver County, a father and his teenage son, along with a classmate of the latter's, were hiking through the woods. At one point, the father was in front, within shouting distance of the boys. The trail they were on had just entered an open grassy area broken up by lines of trees. As the boys walked, they saw something back away from the trail, a Bigfoot. This Bigfoot was walking parallel to them in the same direction and holding a luminescent orb. The father, meanwhile, was glued in place, watching a UFO hover in the next patch of field over from the Bigfoot. As the son turned as quietly as possible in place to try and signal his father, he saw the UFO, and that's when he realized the Bigfoot was headed for the craft. Suddenly, the UFO jittered, drifted left as it made a humming sound, then zipped away. The Bigfoot then fled in the direction the UFO had gone until it was just a screaming dot on the horizon. Bizarre shit like this continued to happen until October of 1973, when the Bigfoot UFO invasion tapered off and eventually ended. Very, very strange entry. Bigfoot holding an orb, screaming as the UFO leaves it. Very odd. Moving on, we have
Bigfoot orb parallel manifestations.
The Bigfoot orb parallel manifestations entry is just a short entry, very strange entry though, and this entry is here just to point out the fact that sometimes Bigfoot sightings are accompanied by orb sightings. Now, if you're not a veteran of the paranormal community, you may not know what I mean by orb sightings. All that's referring to is the unexplained phenomenon of spherical lights that appear in photographs or in the sky. They are typically glowing or translucent. If you've ever watched a top 5 ghost videos, you've definitely seen these before.
Oh shit, fart on my roommate's door, ha.
Did you see it? On the left side of the door frame, barely visible on camera, a white translucent mist like shape slowly creeps into the frame.
These orbs are frequently reported in paranormal investigations. Now, usually, upon closer inspection, orb sightings or videos that claim to capture footage of orbs can be chalked up to dust, insects, camera artifacts, but sometimes it is actually quite strange. Sometimes it does seem like there is some sort of unknown atmospheric or possibly spiritual cause to these orbs. Probably the best orb Bigfoot parallel manifestation that I can think of is from the previous entry, the one we just talked about, but there are also some others. Here are some links to some other Bigfoot orb events if you're curious and want to check them out. But small entry, and let's move on.
The interdimensional Bigfoot model.
Now we're getting into what I think is the good stuff. The interdimensional Bigfoot model, or the quantum Bigfoot model as it is sometimes referred to, suggests that Bigfoot is not strictly a physical creature but may exist partially or temporarily in another dimension, frequency, or quantum state. Subscribers to the interdimensional model argue that this could explain why sightings of Bigfoot are rare, inconsistent, and often accompanied by other unexplainable phenomenon. This model frames Bigfoot as more of a shifting alien phenomenon than a standard animal. A solid explanation of the interdimensional Bigfoot model or the quantum Bigfoot model can be found on Ron Moorhead's website. I know, he's a fraud, but he gets the idea. On Ron Moorhead's website, you'll find a tab titled About the Interdimensional Bigfoot. It reads, "So how does quantum physics relate to spirituality in Bigfoot?" In my 45 plus years of researching this phenomenon, I've heard several very strange reports. A few of these reports, from seemingly heartfelt people, claim that these creatures disappeared. Is that even possible? Can the laws of quantum physics actually answer that question? Knowing what I know, I can't imagine if I knew what Ron Moorhead knew. My fucking head would explode. Knowing what I know, I'm compelled to delve in and see. The accepted mathematics of quantum physics says that there's more going on than what we see with our three-dimensional eyes. Scientists now know. Scientists now know. I like how Ron Moorhead's gonna tell us what the scientists know. Scientists now know, through physics, that empty space, dark matter, dark energy, is not actually empty. However, it is a dimension existing outside of the human light spectrum and the observable vibrational frequency. It seems to me that classical science has restricted itself by its own disciplines, and because of those disciplines, will never grasp the big picture. If we use the classical box to try and determine all that exists, we would never begin to understand the cosmos, e.g. the world of spirituality. The math of quantum physics indicates that there are at least 11 dimensions in existence, possibly innumerable. So, could the laws of quantum physics be the answer to the Bigfoot mysteries? If so, how do we move forward in that possibility? Do not laugh. Is this a symptom of mental illness? I'm not going to comment on that at this moment because as we go deeper down the iceberg, you're going to hear some ideas about Bigfoot that are even crazier. Nonetheless, the interdimensional Bigfoot model, very interesting. Moving on to layer 4, we have
Bigfoot's cloaking/invisibility powers.
This entry is going to come back up later when we get to some of the later entries, but the gist of the Bigfoot cloaking/invisibility powers entry is the idea that Bigfoot may be very good at hiding itself in its environment, and it may possess the ability to camouflage itself like a chameleon or a cuttlefish or something else like that. Staying in the realm of the cryptozoological Bigfoot model, some people believe that Bigfoot's hair acts like something of a ghillie suit. It can use its hair to hide itself among forest brush quickly if it's in danger of being discovered. It's also been suggested that Bigfoot's thick hair can grant it thermal invisibility. In essence, it's able to trap its body heat and mask its heat signature. Taking this theory a little bit further, some people have speculated that Bigfoot may possess the ability to bend light around its body, such that it's able to make itself practically invisible. Strangely enough, many eyewitnesses claim that they've watched Bigfoot flicker in and out of visibility, as if it was cloaking itself in invisibility, or phasing between dimensions right before their eyes. For example, a paranormal/cryptid investigator by the name of John Eric Beckyard claimed that he had seen Bigfoot tracks shape-shift into deer tracks, which led him to believe that Bigfoot had the ability to change its shape and warp physical matter. Additionally, Beckyard would speculate that Bigfoot share, quote, a space-time origin and connection with UFOs and come from an alternative universe by wormhole. Staying on the topic of Beckyard, another drop of wisdom from him was his outright dismissal of the need for empirical Bigfoot evidence, like hair or blood samples, because, as he put it, the creature is, quote, an interdimensional shapeshifter that can warp in and out of physical reality. Now, very interestingly, Beckyard also made an appearance on the David Letterman show back in 1986, and I'm going to warn you, it's a hard watch. And it's not a hard watch because of Beckyard. It's a hard watch because of Letterman and his audience. Yes, Beckyard comes out and he's clearly jubilant, he's overjoyed, he's just beaming, he is chomping at the fucking bit to talk about Bigfoot to the national audience. But Letterman and his audience were very, very unkind to him. Here, have a look.
Camera's over, you can turn the lights out and go to sleep comfortably knowing that my next guest and his buddies are out looking for such creatures as the Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, and Big Bird. This man is a cryptozoologist, and he has been on the prowl for over 7 years. Please welcome Eric Beckyard. Eric, come on out, sir. Hi, Eric. Hi. Nice to see you. How are you?
Pretty good. Critters are animals or things that look like animals, act like animals, but just resist getting caught. You can't just put out a hook and catch one, and you can't decide to go and trap one day.
But do they exist?
They resist.
They actually do exist.
I believe so, and I hope maybe I can convince some of you that they do as well, and that maybe you'll come and see our museum.
See, it's too bad you didn't have time to make a sign or something for the... Okay, let's get to that in a second. But now we have here, as tangible as there does exist, evidence to support the fact that they do exist.
We don't have dead bodies. If we had dead bodies...
All right, what are we talking about? The Loch Ness Monster, Sasquatch,
and Big Bird.
What is Big Bird? I thought that was a Muppet.
Big Bird is usually found on Sesame Street, but there is a type of Big Bird that is nicknamed that.
Like a pterodactyl.
Right. And there is a model of that called Quetzalcoatlus northropi.
But that's extinct.
But there are people in Texas that claim they are seeing it anyway. Okay. And this is very mysterious.
Let's get to the evidence here, Tom.
Okay. This is Eric.
Eric,
right here. Eric.
See if you'd put your name on the sign.
This is Tom. This Tom, me, Eric. This photograph, which has in it a buoy. Not a girly, but a buoy. And this is a comedy show. Now.
Well, it was till now, Tom.
This is of course, is a head, a large head sculpted.
You made this, didn't you?
I made this, based upon photographs, such as this one.
Did somebody at the Smithsonian tell you this is not a bird? Tell me about the museum. Where's your museum located?
We are opening it in October.
Yeah.
On Halloween.
Oh, that'd be nice.
In Malibu.
Malibu.
It's probably going to be in a mobile home, and start very small. These,
I think that's how the Whitney started.
Yes. And indicating that they were not made by something like this, in which there is no movement.
That's right. But when this animal showers, he always would wear a pair of these.
We have a hotline, and we respond to calls about Bigfoot.
Look at Letterman. Look at Letterman fucking yucking it up over there, just giggling at Beckyard. So disrespectful. I think it is very upsetting that Letterman treated John Eric Beckyard so badly on his late night show, and many in the comments agree.
It is a real shame that David Letterman, who cheated on his wife, treated John Eric Beckyard so terribly on the late night show. Beckyard came on in good faith, but Letterman and his audience of sheep couldn't contain their bloodlust and sought to disparage him at every opportunity. So disrespectful.
Moving on, we have
Bigfoot infrasound / demonic energy projection.
The Bigfoot infrasound / demonic energy projection theory suggests that Sasquatch can emit powerful low-frequency sound waves, similar to tigers and elephants, that can disorient, paralyze, or otherwise instill overwhelming fear in witnesses. Now, some researchers frame this as a biological defense mechanism, while others interpret this as a form of demonic or supernatural energy, with Bigfoot deliberately inducing terror, confusion, or even hallucinations in humans. Bigfoot witnesses often describe sudden waves of dread, nausea, or mental fog during encounters with Bigfoot, and many have attributed these symptoms to the phenomenon of demonic energy projection. Now yes, haha, very funny, very silly, but just hold on. One such witness was Tom Powell, a Bigfoot researcher who claimed to have experienced this infrasound or energy projection during a Bigfoot encounter that he had. Powell has given a number of PowerPoint presentations and interviews where he goes into detail about his alleged Bigfoot encounters, and something I find compelling about him is that he doesn't describe himself as like some rugged outdoorsman, woodsman researcher who's going out there to find fucking Bigfoot, march him down, 10 toes down, and fucking square up with him. He says that when he allegedly saw Bigfoot, he was legitimately terrified. Here's a short excerpt from a 2013 interview Powell gave where he describes his alleged infrasound demonic attack and what he felt during it.
Oh yeah, when you are fortunate enough or unfortunate enough to put yourself in the close proximity of one, you find for the first time how powerful they are and how able they are to absolutely dismantle you as a source of potential opposition. So
how close was the Bigfoot to you?
I would say somewhere between 8 and 10 feet away, and wow. It just turned me into an emotional wreck, and I couldn't get out of there fast enough. But boy, when it happens, all your plans go out the window.
Yeah.
And that certainly was the case for me. And when I think back, I'm almost embarrassed with what a chicken I was. It was pitch black, moonless night, thick fog, but I could hear the thing, and there was one in front of me, and there was one behind me. They held all the cards. And when I realized there was a second one behind me, as well as the one in front of me that I could not see, I felt just completely outgunned. I couldn't do anything but flee. It seems to me that they have the ability to project some sort of effect on your psyche that renders you incapable of opposing, just in case you might be carrying a gun or some other thing.
Now, the reason I include this, and the reason it's quite interesting to me, is because other people who have also had encounters with Bigfoot or other cryptids, such as the Dogman, which is basically like the werewolf Bigfoot, they've also claimed that they've experienced these infrasound attacks. For example, a man from Northeast Ohio named Matt Emsch claimed that in the late 1980s, him and his buddies found the Dogman outside of an abandoned steel mill. During their encounter with the Dogman, Emsch claims that him and his buddies were subjected to the same kind of infrasound attack.
Things over the years, we've heard about infrasound, about how tigers and lions, and they will use infrasound to stun prey. It can actually jiggle the insides and the organs, and that's what I felt, and that's what my buddies felt. I've seen recordings of actually crocodiles and alligators when they do their kind of growl in the water and water bounces off of. It was similar to that, but animal-like, like wolf-like, tiger-like, something of a combination of that. And it went through us all. I remember when it hit me, I felt it go through my chest. And the first thing I felt is I felt like I was going to go down on my knees. My legs from the hips all the way down to my ankles, my calves, everything felt so weak that when you have dreams when you're being chased by something and you can't run, that's what it felt like. But I couldn't move. I thought I was going to go down on both my knees. I was kind of bent over, but I was still looking at it.
Not really the most jaw-dropping thing ever, but very interesting and actually kind of scary to think about. Especially the way that Matt Emsch describes it, that feeling like when you're trying to run in a nightmare, but you just can't quite get your body to move. But, moving on, next entry we have...
Bigfoot's Mind Speak, Telepathic Bigfoot Communication.
The Bigfoot Mind Speak entry, or the telepathic Bigfoot communication, refers to exactly what it sounds like, the theory that Bigfoot has telepathic communication powers. In the same way that some, quote, Bigfoot experiencers claim that Bigfoot has the ability to cloak itself, or teleport, or emit demonic frequencies, some people claim that Bigfoot has the ability to communicate with human beings telepathically, and the word that the Bigfoot community uses to describe this phenomenon is mind speak. A notable proponent of this theory is Jason Kenzie, who is a Canadian wildlife photographer and documentarian, celebrated in the Bigfoot community for his vast body of work. Kenzie has produced an impressive number of Bigfoot documentaries over the years. One such important contribution to the field is his documentary, Searching for Sasquatch, Bigfoot Mindspeak. Released in 2022, the documentary explores the phenomenon of Bigfoot Mindspeak through a series of conversations with a woman named Robin McCrae, a self-proclaimed, quote, Bigfoot habituator. Here are some brief excerpts from the documentary to help you get a better idea of what we're talking about.
In this documentary, I'm going to be talking with Robin Haynes McCrae. She made national news because she allegedly was feeding these Bigfoot creatures blueberry bagels. Hi, Robin.
Hi.
How are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Hi, my name is Robin Haynes McCrae. I've been involved with the Bigfoot since I was a toddler. I'm a habituator, a researcher. I do remote viewing. I work with the Foots. They've taught me to do several different things to help them. I'm a habituator, a researcher. I do remote viewing. I work with the Foots. They've taught me to do several different things to help.
Did you catch that? Well, later on in the documentary, Miss McCrae expands upon her experiences with the telepathic Bigfoot and claims that Bigfoot is able to communicate telepathically in any language, citing her experience with Russian Bigfoot from Siberia. No joke.
Did they actually speak out loud, or was it?
It was mostly mind speak. Yeah.
So was it English?
Yes. They can, when they mind speak, they can speak any language that they want. They have their own language.
Japanese?
Yeah, well, if they wanted to.
So if you asked them to speak Japanese, they would?
If I understood Japanese, it would make it easier. For years, because I'm friends with Igor Borstev, he tried to teach me Russian, and I cannot speak Russian. I'm just incapable of it. And like when I was there for his conference, I spoke to the ones that were in Siberia, and I couldn't understand them at all. And I finally just said to them, I can't understand anything. Like, you have to talk in my language or I can't. And they did. They immediately went and talked English.
McCrae then goes further, claiming that in her day-to-day life, Bigfoot have intervened to protect her from injury.
Have they ever picked you up or carried you or anything of the sort?
I'm going to say this is really crazy, but yes and no. I fell one day. I was up on a ledge. It was probably about a 4.5, 5 foot drop. And I was standing on the edge, and I had seen one walking through the woods, and I was kind of not paying attention, and the ground gave way, and I went to fall. And I had somebody that was with me. Yeah. When I went to fall, I came down right on the side of my ankle. Should have snapped my ankles, what I should have done. I physically felt someone grab me around the waist and pick me up and bring me over and set me down. And I didn't have a scratch on me, and it didn't hurt me.
Wouldn't it have been kind of funny if all of a sudden you turn and look and it goes,
yeah,
you're safe.
Yeah, my friend was there. And I said, what just happened? And she said, you look like somebody picked you up. Yeah.
You're safe.
Yeah, my friend was there.
You may be noticing something at this point, and if you haven't noticed it yet, then I want to make it clear to you. The people who concoct these very abstruse Bigfoot theories seem to have some kind of psychological condition. They have a certain mental mix of openness, curiosity, mystical yearning, desire for special knowledge, and all of this sort of culminates into a very unique worldview for the Bigfoot researcher or habituator or experiencer, whatever they call themselves. Outsiders dismiss them as delusional, but for them, this is a source of wonder, a source of identity, and a source of meaning, even a source of transcendence. Take Miss McCrae here, for example. Judging from the documentary, she seems like a very nice lady who means well, but if you listen to what she's saying and you pay attention to sort of the look in her eyes, you'll begin to realize something worrying is going on. So as we move on to the final layer of our iceberg, I just want you to keep in mind that yes, these theories are funny because it's genuinely fucking crazy bullshit, but there are people out there who are very mentally and socially isolated, and for them this is the most meaningful and important thing in the world ever. So with that being said, let's move on into our final layer.
Tulpa/thought form theory.
The Bigfoot Tulpa thought form theory. The Bigfoot Tulpa thought form theory warrants some context. The Bigfoot Tulpa/thought form theory warrants some context because some of you probably have no idea what those words mean. In essence, the concept of a tulpa originates from Tibetan Buddhism, where it is referred to as a manifested thought, or a being that is created through intense mental discipline and visualization. At some point in the recent past, people in certain pockets of the internet began to use the word tulpa to explain their method of creating imaginary friends. According to Wikipedia, online communities dedicated to tulpas spawned on 4chan and Reddit websites. These communities, called tulpa practitioners, tulpamancers. The communities gained popularity when adult fans of My Little Pony started discussing tulpas of characters from the television series My Little Pony. Practitioners believe tulpas are able to communicate with their hosts in ways that they sense do not originate from their own thoughts. Some practitioners report experiencing hallucinations of their tulpas. Practitioners that have hallucinations report being able to see, hear, and touch their tulpas. Yikes. So, with that out of the way, the Bigfoot tulpa/thought form theory suggests that sightings and encounters with Bigfoot are a result of human consciousness manifesting the being into reality. But how? Well, in Buddhism, tulpas and thought forms come into existence via intense mental focus and collective belief. So, the theory goes that the modern cultural fascination with Bigfoot, whether it be through stories, media, folklore, or whatever else, has given the concept of Bigfoot enough psychic energy to take on an independent existence. Totally fucking insane, but very interesting. Here's a short excerpt from a podcast with David Weatherly, a Bigfoot researcher, experiencer, whatever the fuck they call themselves at this point, a Bigfoot truther, and he explains the Bigfoot tulpa phenomenon as follows.
What's the possibility? You know, there's, as I said earlier, there's been a lot of speculation through the years that things like Sasquatch could be explained by tulpas, and what I find is that a lot of the people who approach that, they're trying to find a way to explain what appears to be some of the more paranormal aspects of a lot of Bigfoot sightings. And, you know, we get into really combative territory to some degree when you start talking about this, because there's so many traditional cryptozoologists who want to be hardcore. No, this is an undiscovered, you know, primate or you know, animal that we just, you know, that's out there in the wilderness. I'm more open-minded about the creature in terms of these possibilities, these paranormal possibilities, because there are so many accounts that just can't be explained in any logical sense. You know, it doesn't mean that I believe it's, you know, been being dropped off by spaceships or anything really out there like that. I just think that I think these creatures are physical, but I also think that there are some things about them that are what we would define as paranormal because we simply don't understand them right now. You know,
another notable researcher who touched on the tulpa theory was our beloved John Eric Beckyard. He speculated that Bigfoot might be, quote, the product of tulpas or thought forms created by people or other entities. This one is so weird, I almost didn't even know what to say about it, but I just thought it would be a crime if I did not include it in the iceberg. If this piques your interest and you want to know more about tulpas, or maybe you're fascinated by the clear mental illness going on here, then you can learn a lot more about tulpas from this video by Tuv. We love Tuv. Next we have
the Lemurian Inner Earth Bigfoot Connection.
The Lemurian Inner Earth Bigfoot connection is a fringe belief, if that word even fucking means anything at this point, that links Bigfoot to the supposed lost civilization of Lemuria. So what exactly is Lemuria? Well, the story starts in the 19th century, when geologists and zoologists noticed lemur fossils popping up in both India and Madagascar, but strangely, they did not see any fossils in the Middle East or in Africa. To solve this mystery, some experts theorized that there may have once been a large, now sunken, missing continent that once bridged the two regions. Naturally, they dubbed this lost continent Lemuria. This idea held on for a while until the idea of continental drift came along, and you know the story. But the idea did not die quietly. No. Being picked up and expanded by New Age occultists such as Helena Blavatsky, they transformed Lemuria into a mystical utopia where a super advanced civilization once lived before being cast into the ocean. Depending on who you ask, the Lemurians were either ancient sages with crystal technology or giants with psychic powers or something of that nature. So where did Lemuria go after their supposed super civilization sunk? Well, of course, they went on to create a lost underground city called Telos, which is located underneath Mount Shasta in Northern California. Why did they go here? I do not know. But from what I could gather, Mount Shasta seems to be something of a hotspot where a lot of people claim to see Bigfoot, UFOs, and a lot of other shit. But what about the Lemurian Bigfoot Inner Earth connection? What is the entry ultimately referring to? Well, it's referring to a video from a gentleman named Mike from a YouTube channel that is called Dimensional Walking, a Paranormal Journey. I'll allow him to explain the connection.
Hello everyone, this is Mike from Dimensional Walking, and today I want to talk about an article I did about 12 years ago, and the article is about a guy named John Chamberlain. And John Chamberlain was a newspaper reporter in the San Francisco Examiner, and he talked about Sasquatch, or Bigfoot, and Lemurians. He is saying that it's very possible between 10,000 years ago and 100,000 years ago, Lemuria sunk off of the coast of the northwest United States. And everybody that was on the island died, except for some of the Sasquatch that lived on this huge continent. I guess it was a continent. And they moved to the Pacific Northwest. And anyways, I think it's a really interesting theory. Who knows? Maybe someday we'll know for sure. Okay, we'll see you. Bye-bye.
I mean, that's really as strong a case as any, and I think it's time to move on to the next entry.
Man of Light, Bigfoot Forest Portals.
This entry is actually two entries that I just went ahead and merged together, and for a very good reason. Bigfoot Forest Portals is an extension of the interdimensional Bigfoot model, which theorizes that Bigfoot is able to travel interdimensionally through portals in the forest. That's not even that crazy anymore. At this point, that should be pretty easy for you to wrap your head around. The Man of Light portion of this entry refers to a gentleman on YouTube who claims to document the Bigfoot forest portal phenomenon. Man of Light, the YouTube channel that covers, quote, a multitude of subjects, including music of praise, ghosts of famous people, missing children, sounds for healing the mind and body, Bigfoot adventures, and Dale Earnhardt's ghost videos, and many more subjects as well. So who is Man of Light? Well, Man of Light's real name is Greg. He is an older gentleman from South Jersey, and he makes videos covering his research on Bigfoot and other cryptids. You might call him a Bigfoot researcher, but that title doesn't quite capture the scope of what he does. A better title for Greg's work can be found in the description of his first ever YouTube video, which is very casually titled, Whitney Houston's Spirit in the Sky. This video was uploaded to YouTube on February 22nd of 2012, and in the description of this video, he describes his work as interdimensional spirit photography. Just for a bit of context about Greg and what he does, here's a little clip from his first ever video.
Hello, my name is Spirit Photographer. Interdimensional photography is what I do. The other day, I was taking some pictures and I stumbled what I believe is to be Whitney Houston in her spirit form.
Anyways, Man of Light claims to have video proof of the Bigfoot forest portal phenomenon. So the question at this point now is, do the videos on Man of Light's YouTube channel actually depict what he is talking about? Well, let's investigate. First, we'll have a look at a video that is titled, Bigfoot Female Manifests on Portal Tree, Then Fades Out. Hashtag Bigfoot, hashtag manifestation, hashtag dimensions, hashtag portal. So the video begins with this very beautiful intro screen that reads, Female Bigfoot manifests on portal tree. You will see flashes of light around her as she comes into my view. She is Roxanne. Alright, so the first few minutes of this video is just Greg, Man of Light, wandering around the woods.
I'm back here and I'm looking at a trail right in front of me here. The leaves are all like they've been walked onto the path.
He claims to be following some kind of trail, but to be honest, I don't really see the trail that he's talking about. But he continues to follow this trail, and eventually he sees something move.
Oh, I see something move over here. Straight ahead over here in this area here.
Did you see it? Because I did not.
Oh, I see something move over here.
I mean, I don't.
Oh, I see something move over here.
I don't quite see.
Oh, I see something move over here.
I just don't see what he's talking about. But Greg, Man of Light, proceeds to approach the place where he saw this movement, and as he approaches it, he begins to call out to what he believes is a Bigfoot that is manifesting on the tree.
Straight ahead. Tell where it is. That looks like it might be her. If I get a little closer, I don't want to scare her. Roxanne, is that you? Cloaking on the tree again?
Indeed. Here, Greg, Man of Light, is convinced that he is witnessing a female Bigfoot, which he names Roxanne, manifest itself through the tree interdimensionally.
Roxanne, is that you? Cloaking on the tree again? Roxanne, is that you? Cloaking on the tree again?
Roxanne, is that you? Cloaking on that tree again. He sounds He sounds like a pissed off old man. Hey, those fucking Bigfoots over there cloaking on that damn tree again. Obviously, there's nothing there. I don't see the cloaked female Bigfoot he's talking about, but I do see a patch of moss there.
This is Man of Light. I don't want to scare you. I don't want to hurt you. I would never do that.
This is Man of Light. Could you imagine if you were like a hiker in the woods or something and you just got lost and then all of a sudden you run up on Greg in the woods and he's out there going, I've got movement here. She's cloaking on the tree. Roxanne, is that you? This is Man of Light. You'd fucking bolt immediately. You'd be terrified. Now again, I don't see anything here at all. But luckily, Greg, Man of Light, provides a close-up still image of Roxanne at the end of the video. And this is what it looks like. Alright, moving on, we have our final entry in the iceberg.
Chris Noel's Sasquatch Savant Theory.
At the bottom of our iceberg, we have Christopher Noel's Sasquatch Savant Theory. So to begin with, who is Christopher Noel? Christopher Noel is a Bigfoot researcher, which is a title that should not raise any eyebrows at this point. He is a prolific writer, having written a number of books on the subject of Sasquatch study, and he also has a YouTube channel titled Impossible Visits, where he uploads various Sasquatch and cryptid-adjacent videos. At the core of Chris Noel's work and his principal contribution to the field of Bigfoot research lies the Sasquatch Savant Theory. What is the Sasquatch Savant Theory? Well, essentially Noel argues that Sasquatch are real, highly intelligent hominins whose behavior can be explained by comparing them to humans with autism. He suggests that traits associated with autism, such as heightened sensory perception, unusual memory abilities, difficulty with social interaction, and repetitive or ritualistic behavior, map on to reported Sasquatch encounters. Now let's assume that you, a member of the audience, are a skeptic. You don't believe that Bigfoot exists as an actual creature, as an alien, as a ghost, as a manifesting portal spirit, as anything. You just don't believe in Bigfoot, period. How does Chris Noel address such skepticism? Well, we can see how Chris Noel addresses such skepticism in his book, Sasquatch and Autism, 12 Parallels. Yes, I have the actual copy of this book. I bought this book years ago when I first discovered Mr. Noel's work. And yes, indeed, on page 7 of this book, Noel has the following to say to the skeptics. When talking to skeptics, I find it helpful to boil the case down to two possibilities, which in fact are the only two. Either they don't exist, in which case all the tens of thousands of eyewitness accounts of sightings and encounters over the past 2 centuries are false, or else they do exist. And if they do exist, they can only have survived alongside our species without being killed off or dominated or generally believed in by being far more elusive than we can readily comprehend. To Noel, this is airtight logic. Either Bigfoot doesn't exist, which he dismisses as impossible, or Bigfoot does exist, which he insists is the only reasonable conclusion. Now, yes, of course, there is an obvious logic flaw in Noel's reasoning. Noel presents the choice as a rigged 2-option test, where one answer is impossible by definition, which leaves his conclusion as the only one standing. It's bullshit. He's rigging the argument so that all roads lead to Bigfoot. It's like giving a multiple choice test where every answer is Bigfoot is real. Setting Noel's shaky logic aside, our real focus here is on the substance of Noel's theory. In the book, he talks about the parallels that Sasquatch share with people with autism generally. On page 11, Noel captures the gist of his theory with the following passage. Quote, "The virtually flawless stealth of the Sasquatch species is legendary. What is often less acknowledged is the polar opposite. They also routinely approach us, making contact. They both avoid us like the plague and seek us like the cure. Can you think of any other species that fits this two-sided behavior profile? As far as I can tell, the sole counterparts in the world that display the same binary conduct are the autistic members of our own species, who typically shun direct contact while pursuing indirect contact." Now make of that what you will, but I gotta admit, I've never heard a theory quite as interesting as this one. So besides the avoid and approach behavior described in the aforementioned passage, what are some of the other parallels that Noel draws between Sasquatch and autistic humans? Well, here are a few. One such parallel is exposure anxiety. On pages 17 and 18, Noel explains this parallel as the following. Needless to say, when it comes to the Sasquatch phenomenon, the exposure/concealment dynamic is the whole ballgame. In my view, they do not merely choose to remain hidden 99.999% of the time, they are compelled to, by an innate predisposition transcending conscious will. Otherwise, freedom and curiosity being what they are, we'd see them much more often. So here, basically, Noel is saying that the reason we can't ever see Bigfoot is because they are actually acutely self-conscious, because they have autism. Another parallel is indirect communication. Here, Noel tries to draw a connection between the way that nonverbal autistic people communicate, which is by using pictures and symbols, and the way he believes Sasquatch tries to communicate with us. Indeed, on page 23, Noel writes, Sasquatch too traffic in symbols, but the difference is that theirs do not usually represent clear meanings beyond themselves. Stick and tree structures, for instance, show up regularly at, quote, habituation sites, which is Noel speak for places that Bigfoot like to hang out. And enterprising habituators will sometimes rearrange them as conversational gestures, and then find them either carefully rearranged and kind, or else destroyed in an emphatic rejection of the overture. Now, fortunately for us, Noel is gracious enough to provide us with some photos of these stick and tree structures by which Sasquatch attempt to communicate with us. Looking on page 24, we find the following photos. Quote, a few thousands of formation types found by North American researchers in areas with a history of Sasquatch sightings and encounters. And then on the next page, Noel shows us some renderings of these stick structures, which he refers to as glyphs. I will admit, I am not convinced. This just looks like fucking sticks on the ground. Another parallel that Noel makes is percussion, repetition, and rhythm. On page 53, Noel writes, wood knocking behavior has been noted worldwide. Indeed, because these clear sounds can only be produced by a creature with hands. Knocking has emerged as the most reliable indicator of the presence of Sasquatch in the forest, whenever humans can reasonably be ruled out as the source. Now, I don't know by what standard Noel reasonably rules out humans. I'll assume his standards are very high, though. As a matter of fact, I think I'm done with this. I think there's just too much here. I highly recommend the book. I do think you should pick it up. I do think you should support Chris Noel and his work. I hope he runs for office someday. There's quite a bit here. There's 100 pages and some change of parallels between Sasquatch and autistic humans in this book that I think you should look into. This video is probably going to be a longer one, so I do hope you enjoyed it, and check out Purge Lifting Club. I will see you next time. Farewell.
Call me schizophrenic, you can call me paranoid, but these connections I'll be finding can't be null and void. Next time that you see me, won't you look me in the eyes, play a little games, tell me pretty lies. I've been watching you for so long, I know what you're gonna do. I'm inside your head,
Roxanne, is that you?
The worst part is I don't even blame you. I would be doing the same shit if I was in